Yasser Louati. He is the head of Justice and Liberties for All Committee. He joins us now live from Paris. Thanks so much for being with us, Yasser. Tell us really just how much does this trial actually mean to France? Because it is not just about the murder, of those 12 people. It's about what some consider freedom of speech and what others consider, necessary respect for religion.
Well, actually, it's a bit more complicated than that. First, we shouldn't have high expectations in regards to this trial. The order givers, the people who were behind the preparation and everything, they're either dead or running loose between Syria and Iraq. The people now being tried in France have only provided, if I can say only, between quotation marks, logistical support. So this is only it may be harsh to say, but only a symbolic trial to allow France to kind of, turn the page and move on. The victims have not received the proper support. And on top of that, the main questions, and I think your correspondent just, mentioned them, is that where is the trial of the failures of the state apparatus, the failures of our security services, failures of the community, of the intelligence community, the fact that when Nicolas Sarkozy dismantled our domestic intelligence and created a war between the various agencies, led to lots of information being forgotten, ignored, or at least not properly treated. So this is as much a failure of the French state as it is a failure of the French nation as a whole to kind of not play into the hands of Daesh. If you remember, for example, the piece titled "The Destruction of the Gray Zone," published I think in 2014, 2015 by Daesh, it said that these attacks are meant to shed blood in the West, but also to polarize Western societies. And that's exactly what's been happening, not only by these attacks, but also by the way our political and media elites have exactly done what these terrorists wanted, to polarize French society, and we are witnessing it today. As for the victims...
But to be fair, Yasser, I mean, this before the Charlie Hebdo attack, we saw those protests in both democratic and other non-necessarily democratic countries around the world, just in response to those Danish cartoons. And that raised a major debate over what is freedom of speech and what is actually unnecessary, offensive provocation of a religion exploiting certain sensitivities to no real end. Some governments will say, actually, it was racism, it inspires Islamophobia, and that's what's wrong. That is what France is also up against in this trial, is helping to decide that debate. What is freedom of speech in France?
Well, actually, there's no debate about freedom of speech, because there is no freedom of speech in France. There is privilege of speech. So you can say whatever you want if you are a white person. But, for example, I'm going to just mention to you an example. A few years ago, there was a photography contest, and the winner of the contest was a picture of a white man wiping his behind with a French flag. This caused hysteria. Even the government wanted to pass a law to prohibit such a thing. And 2 people lost their jobs at that store because they allowed such a picture to win a prize. So when people say they want freedom of speech, so if we are serious about that, then everybody should have it. It's not freedom of speech for the dominant ideology. And when minorities say, yes, we understand you want your freedom of speech, but I have the right to feel hurt. For example, it is understandable that Jewish people would feel offended if people make fun of the Holocaust. It would be normal for other people to feel offended if people make fun of their disabilities. So, freedom of speech comes with a great deal of responsibilities. And the fact that we allow only one kind of freedom of speech, and when people say, this is hurting my feelings and my beliefs, people tell them, you are against it. No, if you are serious about freedom of speech, you give it to everybody, the opinion and the opposite opinion on an equal platform. So far, what Charlie Hebdo is doing is taking advantage and using privilege of speech as a privilege, not as a universal right. Otherwise, Muslims who felt offended would have been given a platform to answer Charlie Hebdo and to dismantle this nauseating ideology called Islamophobia.
Okay, Yasser Louati, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you for joining us from Paris.